Do the thing and then you'll do the introductions?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I think we could start. Um, Hello, everybody. Welcome to our June meeting of the League of Women Voters of Colorado Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Task Force. We had 15 meetings. We've had 15 meetings since September, and we took a month break, so we're back ready to go again. I am going to be the co-chair of the State League Action and Advocacy Group, and so I'm going to be turning over the reins of the task force to two very important members of our task force steering committee, Shauna Tracy and Jennifer Patterson. They're a great team, and I can't wait to see where they go with this. We started in September with 5 members, and we had 87 people registered tonight. So I think we're on the right track, and I'm sure that Shauna and Jennifer will hit it out of the park.
Careful.
Thanks, Kathy.
Wait a minute. We
Oh.
all know that about the attack in Boulder on Sunday. The League of Women Voters of Boulder County and the League of Women Voters of Colorado put forth this statement that I'd like to read. The League of Women Voters of Colorado and the League of Women Voters of Boulder County believe the right to protest peacefully is a basic American freedom, and we condemn the horrific violence that took place in front of the Boulder courthouse. No one exercising their rights under the First Amendment should face violence and violent rhetoric, and our hearts are with those who were injured. The ability of people to peacefully make their voices heard is mandatory to American democracy, and the League of Women Voters works to ensure strong and healthy democratic systems. Terrorism and violence have no place here. So, Shauna, you want to start the meeting?
You bet. So, hi everybody. If you're new, welcome. And if you are a returning guest, welcome back. As Kathy said, we took a small sabbatical during the month of May, but we're back and we are starting with an amazing presentation tonight with the Colorado Racial Equity Study Commission. I just wanted to give you a quick reminder of what you agreed to when you registered for this presentation. You agreed to not engage in any behaviors or actions that are harassing, threatening, or physically or verbally abusive towards the League of Women Voters members, guest presenters, employees of League of Women Voters, or member of the public, and to not create an environment that is intimidating, hostile, or offensive. So with that, and no further ado, I'm going to turn it back to Kathy to introduce tonight's guests.
Thank you, Shauna. I'd like to start tonight by setting the stage a little bit. When Barack Obama was elected president in 2008, many people declared racism in the United States dead. In the Shelby County case, which was decided in 2013, Chief Justice John Roberts famously declared that our country has changed. Racism, however, was nowhere near dead. It was built into the very foundations of this country in the Constitution. It pervades the economy, the school system, the judicial system, and the environment. It is systemic. It has denied Black Americans equality of opportunity for generations. Attempts to remedy this situation have been rebuffed with claims of discrimination against white men. Attacks on DEI are everywhere. But Colorado is not afraid to take a hard look at systemic racism. In 2024, the Colorado General Assembly passed Senate Bill 24-53 to study the historical constraints that Black Coloradans have faced in attaining a decent quality of life. The Colorado Black Equity Study is examining Black Coloradans access to four major aspects of quality of life: justice, wealth, education, and health. Tonight, we will hear about the Colorado Black Equity Study from the senator who shepherded through the General Assembly and the program manager leading the historical part of the study. We are pleased to have the president of the Colorado Senate, Senator James Coleman, speak to us tonight in his capacity as chair of the Black Colorado Racial Equity Study Commission. We are also honored to have Ms. Chloe Duplessis lead us tonight with Senator Coleman in an honest conversation on our shared history. I'm going to introduce Senator Coleman now. Senate President James Coleman was born and raised in the Park Hill neighborhood of Denver and is a resident of the district that he represents, which is Senate District 33. Senator Coleman served his first term in 2016, serving as the youngest elected official in Colorado's state legislature at that time. And even today, he is still one of the youngest senators in the legislature. Throughout his years in the Colorado General Assembly, Senator Coleman has energetically sponsored bills to better fund and resource schools, protect workers and veterans' rights, bolster small businesses, create opportunities for and pathways to higher education, increase health coverage and mental behavioral health supports, direct criminal justice reforms, and preserve our environment. He anchors his legislation in not only advocacy for the Black community, but also in his legislative priorities, which are education, economic growth, and youth and workforce development. Senator Coleman currently serves as the Colorado Senate President, the chair of the Black Democratic Legislative Caucus of Colorado, the chair of the Black Coloradans Racial Equity Study Commission, the vice chair of the Legislative Oversight Committee concerning Colorado jail standards, and sits on the executive committee of the Legislative Council. And that's just his work in the legislature. We are very pleased to have Senator Coleman speak to us tonight. We are also pleased to have Ms. Chloe Duplessis speak to us tonight. Chloe is a legally blind artist, curator, and historian committed to creating work that centers equity, accessibility, and healing. Her images elevate the unknown, illuminate the forgotten, and mindfully address the present. She seeks to center the importance of shared history and to erode the social constructs that oppress people of color and those navigating disability. With more than 20 years of experience in intercultural engagement, arts administration, and advocacy, Chloe speaks internationally on the healing power of elevating our shared history. Chloe is currently the Colorado Black Equity Research Program Manager, where she is leading a team of scholars to pursue evidence-based research into historical racist practices, systems, and policies of the state of Colorado that generationally harmed the lives of Black Coloradans. She is the creator of Denver's first accessible iVoter sticker and the 2023 recipient of the Denver Mayor's Award for Excellence in Arts and Culture. So we have tonight a nationally recognized speaker in Senator Coleman and an internationally recognized speaker in Ms. Duplessis. So thank you guys. Thank you for speaking here tonight and for being with us on this important topic. So Senator Coleman, how did the commission come to be?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Kathy. Can you all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Kathy, can we all, I know we can't all come off mute, but can we do like a little high five or like whatever thing on Zoom for Kathy and just celebrate her? Thank you for all the work that you do and continue to do. Yeah, there we go. Some thumbs up, all those things on the screen. So We appreciate all that you're doing, and Shauna and Jennifer, we're excited for you to continue the work, and we know Kathy, you're not going anywhere. So thank you for all that you're doing.
Right.
Yeah, look, really quickly, I will kick us off and just talk about the origins of this policy and how we got started. And ultimately, a few years ago, we were approached by community to say, look, we want to get a couple of bills passed that directly invest into community. Some of those bills look like providing dollars to minority and women-owned businesses in order to thrive in the state of Colorado. We know a lot of times minority and women-owned businesses don't get access to resources, funding, need technical support services. And so we ran this bill, we passed this bill, providing funding. This is during COVID. And the bill passed and was challenged in Colorado Supreme Court. And we lose every time we go to Colorado Supreme Court on the basis of discrimination. So if we want to invest dollars at the state level into women and minority-owned businesses, we have to be very tactical about how we language the bill because it is seen as unconstitutional. So we ran Senate Bill 63 a few years ago with the intent, or 53, excuse me, the racial equity study with the intent to begin this process of having this commission that would allow us to research history in Colorado for Black community, data on Black Coloradans, whether it's healthcare, housing, education, you name it, and then also the economic impacts that Black Coloradans have experienced here, the deficits that we've experienced, not having access to resources, and all that information comes back to us for us to be able to utilize in the future to continue to run policies that help make sure that Colorado is not only equal but also equitable. And so I can't take the credit. This is an amazing effort by many members in community. I will tell you that this commission meets multiple times throughout the year. It's 14 members, including myself as chair, Representative Jennifer Bacon as vice chair, Senator Tony Exum, and also Representative Nikita Ricks, along with community members down the list. We are so blessed to have amazing leaders helping us out with this work, and none more than Chloe Duplessis. Y'all get tired of hearing me, so I'm gonna stop because you're going to really be blown away when you hear some amazing things that Chloe has to share. I'll share this one last thing. I was born and raised here, y'all. I grew up in the district I represent in Park Hill in Denver. And there are things I've learned about my state through Chloe that I did not know until she uncovered it. Her research, her team is unmatched, and we're very blessed to have her in our state. And look forward to her sharing more about the process, more about how we were able to raise funds for this effort, and some of the things she's uncovered. Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks a lot, Senator Coleman. I know you're on your way to town hall, so if you need to sign off, that's okay. But we appreciate you being here. So
I
thank
got
you.
you. I'm here for you.
Okay, thank you. Chloe,
Yes,
can you please tell us a little bit about the Black equity study that you're doing right now? What kind of team do you have? What kind of materials are you looking at? Things like that. Thank you.
absolutely, Kathy. Thank you so much. And thank you, Senator Coleman, for your kind words. Um, I've prepared something very intentional for everyone watching tonight. And I hope it's okay. It's after hours. I'm in my living room. I'm cozy. I hope you're cozy too. We are community.
Uh-huh.
Because I want to share very briefly a story that I believe will resonate deeply with you. It resonates deeply with me, and it will set the foundation kind of for a brief exchange this evening.
Thank you.
So you can tell by my voice, I have a little bit of a twang. I'm originally from Louisiana, and I've been living in Colorado for about 7 or 8 years and been deeply blessed, me and my family, by living here in Colorado. But I was a military kid, and we moved around quite a bit. And one of the things that I remember very, very vividly, even now in my late 40s, is that when I was 5 years old and started elementary school, we were living in Allison Air Force Base, right outside of Fairbanks, Alaska. My mom, my stepfather, me, and my brother. And for my first day of school, I got two brand new shirts. I wore the red one. I had bows in my hair. I had all the joy that a child would have when embarking upon their first day of school. Think right now in this moment, back to your first day of school. Some of us have to think further than others, but that's okay. So when you think of first days of school, you automatically connect that to joy, to possibility, to opportunity, to friendship. And my day was no different. I remember returning home after my first day and walking into my home. My mother was in the kitchen preparing supper, and my little brother was watching television. And she said, "Chloe, how was your day?" And I said, "Oh, Mom, it was so wonderful. It was so cool." She said, "Well, tell me what happened." I said, "Well, I'll tell you what happened, but first and foremost, I want to tell you that I made a new friend and I have a nickname." My mother was stirring mashed potatoes in a bowl. She stopped, she looked up, and she said, "A nickname? Chloe, you don't have a nickname, sweetie." I said, "No, no, no, I have a nickname, Mom. I have a nickname. My new best friend is named Andy, and she's kind, and we're working on friendship bracelets." And she told me that I had a new nickname, and it was only for me. I was 5. And then she came from around the kitchen buffet area and sat down on one of the benches and said, "Chloe, what did she tell you? What did she say was your nickname?" And I told her that Andy told me my nickname was Nigger. Only I said the word. Immediately, my mother's face contorted. She placed her hand on her chest, and tears began to roll rapidly down her face. She embraced me and sent me into the room with my brother, and immediately got on the phone with my stepfather that said, "Call the sergeant, call the principal. We have to have a conversation." What I didn't know until almost 20 years later was that my very own mother helped to integrate North Louisiana. My grandparents were civil rights leaders, educators, and clergy, and they filed the suit to desegregate Caddo Parish in North Louisiana. So my mom was our very own region's Ruby Bridges. And for the first several years of her elementary school career, she too was called the N-word every single day. People would approach her, touch her hair, rub to see if the black ran off. This is 1965. So imagine the hurt and pain and angst that she felt in thinking, by marrying my stepfather, an airman serving his country, and leaving the Deep South and moving all the way to Alaska, as far as one can theoretically get from that kind of energy and weight, only to have your daughter's very first day of school and school experience mirror your own. As a mother, I know what she was feeling. Now, I share that story because even though my roots are in Louisiana, and I am a proud resident of Colorado for only under 7 or 8 years doing this essential work, and that situation happened in Alaska. In all my years of working in the arts and in history and traveling now 9 countries and 24 states, one thing has been consistent, and that is privilege, discrimination, and the very intentional acts of some individuals to connect us when, quite frankly, in my experience, we all want the same thing. The scope of the study focuses on access to wealth, education, health, and justice. And there will be some lines that run through that, like housing and transportation and recreation, and all of those things will be honored and covered in the scope that was approved by the commission just a few months ago. But I think what's really important to recognize is that the energy that many people in our beautiful country park at the very bottom of the state, sometimes the southeastern part of the country, is an energy that is pervasive because it's in the foundation of our country. And the fact that some of us can't see it because maybe we had lived experiences that are very different simply means that it's even more powerful than often we give it credit for. And this is the very notion that I offer to you this evening that we will hope to highlight when we offer this study to the Commission and to the Governor in March of 2027, when this journey of research ends and the real work of ensuring everyone has access begins. Is it so unrealistic to believe that Colorado is different? And when I first moved here, let me tell you, I moved here because Colorado is different. It's extraordinarily beautiful, access to quality of life and recreation, and the people have an energy. I moved here for all the same reasons that people live here and continue to move here. Upwards of 100,000 people almost every single year, so I get it. But I'm also very aware that the energy that founded this state, that we've actually traced with our research team back to days of territory, is a very similar, familiar energy. We like to pack things away as Americans because it makes us uncomfortable. I will submit to you that until we make the time and set the intention to have real conversations about this, we will continue to be uncomfortable. And for many people of color, we have been uncomfortable for hundreds of years. Our healing is in our hands. When I speak on this study across the state, I see it and view it and present it as an opportunity for everyday humans to be invested in repair. This is about active repair. And when I speak to groups of mature white Coloradans or mature Americans who may have different lived experiences, the very first thing I want you to know is I am not speaking with, engaging with, or talking to you as if you are directly causing harm to me or my family or even my ancestors. But chances are your ancestors may have. And the reality of that is that once you know that, you have an opportunity to shift energy in the other direction. Many of us are familiar with Estes Park. It's a place where you go for recreation, memories are made. Many of us have been going for years with our families or to link up and just enjoy nature's bounty and beauty. But did you also know that Mr. Estes came for Gold Rush? And he came in a covered wagon with a few items of food, sustenance, as they would say, and also 5 enslaved people. And when he got here and worked the land or directed others to work the land and did a couple of things, after a few years, when he decided to return and wanted to leave Colorado, he packed his wagon, he packed his belongings, and he packed up 5 enslaved people. And when he was questioned about this, he is quoted as saying, "I brought them back to Georgia to free them." For the past 5 months, my extraordinary research team of historians has been working and literally moving chronologically to elevate and unearth lesser known practices, policies, programs that have caused harm towards Black Coloradans. As we sit here in June of 2025, we already have enough information to truthfully support at least 5 independent studies. The question is not, are we finding things? The question is, how are we shaping the story that will be presented? And I believe of all the challenges we are navigating, both living in present day, doing this heavy, heavy historical work, and managing the hysterical, yes, and historical energy of these times will be just that. Because this study covers days of territory all the way to present day. Within 3 weeks of being on the job at History Colorado, our research team confirmed proof of enslavement in Colorado, which had largely been debated. 3 weeks. Within 6 weeks, we confirmed not only was there proof of enslavement, but many of the founding fathers who held office, who created policies and programs that still exist to some degree, not only came from generations of slave-holding families, but owned people themselves. So this is relevant because an attempt to answer the questions, why another study and why Colorado, we had to first honor what happened and what was, and create a framework to support that. Now that we know that existed, we have actively counted and documented persons in positions of authority, power, influence, and affluence who actively owned other humans, advocated for Colorado to be a slave state, or directly prevented them from moving forward. The League of Women Voters was founded, as you know, in 1920. And when you think of 1920, most people think of the Charleston, they think of energy, good times, flapper era, the beginning of the Renaissance in Harlem, just this energy of like new statehood, right? 1920 was one of the most deadliest years throughout Colorado and especially in Denver because of the Ku Klux Klan. If you're familiar with redlining, the practice of actually ensuring that certain individuals don't move into certain communities to preserve one's quality of life, then you might also be surprised, but not shocked to know that prior to redlining, the Klan managed their own version of redlining. Black families' homes were bombed in the 1960s, right here in Colorado. That was their early version of redlining. And yes, there were civil rights laws on the books, but they were largely not enforced. And if it went to court, it just went to court. The years that followed, Black Coloradans experienced barriers, resistance, physical daily harm just for wanting to live their life. It was not uncommon for people in 1920 to leave their homes, embrace their loved ones, and not even be sure if they would return in the evening, much like in times of slavery. And I will tell you now, as a mother and a wife, after 2020, every time my husband leaves the house, I hold him and we pray as a family because unfortunately, that is still, to some degree, the reality for people of color living in the United States, a place where we have given so much, a place where the notion of philanthropy began because we gave the very first seeds. The Denver Mint was built with the spoils of slavery from rice and cotton and tobacco. So when we think that Colorado is different and we boldly say it's different, I no longer say that's wrong or you are misguided. I now say, prove it and let's make it true. I know this work can be heavy for many people who have not had this experience or who are not living in this skin because we take no days off if you're a person of color. This may be uncomfortable, but I submit to you, if you have any heart and you value quality of life and the energy around making real intentional change, you will begin saying Colorado is different. And you will work intentionally by sharing this story, this study with your friends, peers, colleagues, loved ones, making intentional donations of resources and support, and doing your own learning through the libraries, through online, and just accessing information to ensure that Colorado is different. I think it's ironic that most of my friends who work in education or history or politics always comment to me that I am very optimistic, and they are correct. And for a Black woman who grew up in the South and directly experienced harm growing up and who is actively going blind due to a genetic condition, who works in history, arts, and culture, and every day I am sent pictures of burning crosses and lynchings, even those of pregnant mothers, and for people whose skin that looks like mine, for me to say that I am joyful blows their mind. And I submit to you that I am joyful because I have made the decision to be joyful, because I feel I have no choice if I will exist in this realm. And I also feel a deep sense of responsibility to my ancestors and to your ancestors to ensure that the work I do every day helps to shift for them and for my 8-year-old daughter to a more equitable Colorado, and a Colorado that hopefully will one day be viewed as different. As we shift energy for the study, our next hearing will be on June 25th at the Capitol. We also have a public hearing with the Commission that will take place on August 13th. And all of this is public information. And the final hearing for the year will be on November 5th, I believe. And you can find all of this information online, and I've shared the links with Kathy for you to view. I encourage you, if you have the capacity and availability to come to the hearings, to reach out to me. Our team is housed at History Colorado. We have an extraordinary team. Dr. Scott Spillman is a newly published author who was featured on Morning Joe just 2 months ago, who has 20 years of experience researching early statehood, American history, and slavery. He is also originally from Georgia. He's been living in Colorado about 15 years, and he and his lovely wife, Megan, have twin girls who are 7 years of age. He is doing this for them. We have John Valdez, who is Afro-Indigenous, hails from Durango, Colorado. He is our Southern Colorado connection. He's the youngest person on our team, and he is full of energy and vigor and life. And he is an economist and a historian. He is also living, walking Black history because his great-great-great-great-grandfather was John Taylor, a Buffalo soldier who married the Ute chief's daughter. Talk about working next to history. And he will be doing economic analysis of the study when we present it over to the commission for review. We have Shatoya Walker, who hails from Kansas City, Missouri, and has been living in Colorado for 7 years. Her specialty and focus is in education. She is an educator. She is an accomplished published writer, and her research focuses on the slave trade pathways and, of course, oral histories. She is both leading and building a statewide framework for oral histories that what currently does not exist at all in our state. And over the next 2 years, she will directly be talking to thousands of Coloradans and persons of other experiences that worked with Black Coloradans. So if you were someone who was not a person of color, but maybe you worked in banking or education or in the health system, and you directly experienced harm or viewed your coworkers experiencing harm, we would love to hear from you as well. And then pulling up the end of the team is none other than Dr. Melissa Jones. Melissa Jones is originally from Mississippi. She has over 30 years of experience in criminal justice. She is a professor, and her specialty is on cultural disasters, massacres, and early American history. Dr. Jones will be focusing on the criminal justice system. She will also be focusing on health equity and access, which includes access to recreation and wellness. I'm deeply proud to work with these individuals. And as I wrap my statements tonight, I just want you to know that I have never been more sure that our lives are not independent chapters. They are part of the book, right? Although it's a book that's yet unwritten. Everything that I have experienced personally and professionally has led me to this role, and I'm deeply proud to be in this position. I am proud to lead this team of professionals over the next 2 years and to offer up a study that we are both deeply proud of, but also one that honors the true intention of the law. Once we turn this over in March of 2027 to the commission and to the governor, they will then engage with a third-party organization and or agency to do an evaluation to determine ways to repair the harm that has been done. And although that is phase 2 and beyond me, we are very mindful that we are actively moving, serving, and doing this work to find evidence-based forms of harm, not just so we can offer the meaningful stories that move and shift the heart, but so we can actually put numbers on paper to quantify what this really means. There's a quote that says at this point in 2025, there's upwards of almost $1 trillion that is due to the families of those who are descendants of those who were enslaved. My job as program manager is not to convince you of the importance of repair, which some may call reparations or programs or policies. That's not my job. My job is to ensure that I protect the 4 people who were placed on this project and connect with you, answer your questions, be accessible and available to speak to every group, forum, and association to ensure that you have a clear idea of the work that we are doing, and also that you have a clear idea of just how important you are in this process. If you have been looking for a reason, cause, or a purpose to support, to invest in, to engage in, and to elevate, I submit to you that this is the one. And I look forward to working with you in the future to ensure that our Colorado is different. Thank you.
Thank you, Chloe. Shauna has a question. I need to recover first.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm not on mute. I just want to start by saying thank you. That was so powerful and so moving and just wonderful. My question is a little bit twofold. When did this all begin, and what pushback have you experienced, I guess, recently? I mean, are you seeing a dramatic pushback since the DEI removal and all of the things we're seeing with this new administration?
Thank you for your question. So this all began, it's a two-part answer. So this movement has been a movement for generations, to be very, very clear. There have been small groups throughout the state working to get the capacity to do a study of this sort. So that's the truth of the matter. But this individual, this kind of new energy and vigor behind the movement started literally in 2020, the year that was. And after the tragedy of George Floyd, Sade Cooper, who is the CEO of Chic, a beautiful nonprofit based here in Denver, Javon Brame, a lot of local leaders got together, and essentially the first component of it was they went to the legislature and they said, how can we repair harm? How can we encourage Black people in this season when they're literally being slain in the streets? How can we do that? So the first energy around it was focused on getting access to education. They wanted education for Black Coloradans. And they were told that they couldn't do that because that would be discriminatory, which is ironic. And that was very hurtful for them. Many of them were educators or worked in education reform, and they just knew that access to education could shift things, right? And they also thought because they weren't asking for actual payments or compensation in that way, that it would be easily done, and it was not. But again, I believe everything has purpose because in that struggle, in that shift, they learned how to move forward. They connected with lobbyists and got connected with Senator Coleman, and they decided that this thing has layers, and it's never just about the education. Education is a very big part of it. It can change lives generationally. This we all know, but there's so many interlocking systems. It's your environment, it's access to housing, especially in Colorado, where the cost of living is outrageous and shows no signs of slowing. It's about, your health care, the support systems you have in place. It's about the criminal justice system and how for many people it is a system that has less of a feeling of justice, right? And this is documented. It's about all the ways in which little children who go to school who are not reading on grade level by grade 4 are actually the statistical data that are used to build new prisons. It's about that. So in them shifting the focus to doing a study and answering once and for all this, let's gather the harm and let's point to the harm. That's how this kind of came about. And the rest is kind of, I would say Black history, but it's American history. It's Colorado history. And last summer, Governor Polis signed it into a law, many thanks to all those people, and especially, of course, to Senator Coleman for carrying this. So it's something how it may have started with one or two people years ago, and many of the elders I come in contact with say, we tried to do that in the 60s and the 70s, and I believe it's a lot about timing. It doesn't make it right, it doesn't minimize the harm, but it's a lot about timing. And I think that so many people were outraged in 2020, and so many people, frankly, had an awakening. I'll never forget, I had a friend girl who was like a sister to me, and she's white. She called me and she said, Chloe, I just heard about Breonna Taylor, and I want you to know that with COVID going on, I feel so unsafe in my own home. I feel unsafe. I don't know what's going to go on with my job. I might be furloughed. I feel like I might have a really tough financial situation, and I feel my very health is at risk. And I looked at her and I started laughing, and not in like that's really funny way. I just kind of laughed because I thought she was joking. She wasn't joking. And she said, you don't understand. And I said, oh no, but I think that you now understand. This is my lived experience every single day. I go in the interview, I may have 8 years of college behind me, but someone across the table who doesn't have my hue may have barely a GED and deny me. This is the reality for people. So I think that this energy that was in place really helped to lay the kind of the framework to get this passed. And once it was passed, we were off. It was passed and signed and of course in July, and then June rather, and then in the fall, the commission, of course, was created, and then we actually interviewed in like November or so, and we came on board in December. And we've just been moving ever since, and moving with heart and vigor and intention. I am very aware, and my team is very aware of what's going on in the world. All of us come from different experiences and have different areas of cultural connection. And that was very intentionally done. I wanted to have a really beautiful, diverse team because this is our history, right? But I think what I tell people and what I truly believe is the energy that is out there in the world that people are now seeing has always been there. I think it's only surprising to most people who are not people of color, frankly. Um, so much so that when President Trump was elected the first time and people were so surprised, well, not everyone was surprised. Some people were surprised and concerned. My mother began weeping because, again, a child of integration. She began weeping because she was very fearful that we were going backwards. And I remember my 83-year-old grandmother giving her a hug, leading her in a prayer and saying, you remember who you are and whose you are. It doesn't matter who is in office. It's important to be civically engaged and to be mindful. But the reality is, for people of color, not much changes. So the energy that is out there that does not govern, dictate, guide, or distract from the work we're doing. If anything, it reinforces our commitment to tell the truth and to honor these stories for all of us.
And Chloe, if I could just add on to what you said, Shauna, I'll be very brief. A lot of times we run bills, people think that we rush the process and push bills through. You heard the name Sade Cooper with Chic, who was a driving force behind this bill. Sade came to me in 2023 to talk about how we get Black students the opportunity to go to college and wanting to figure out a bill to direct support for Black high school graduates specifically. We didn't do that. 2024 comes around, 2023 comes around rather. That was 2022. 2023 comes around, and at the end of 2023 session, it was April, like 30th, almost session's done, and she says, hey, can we run a late bill around racial equity? And I said, it's too late. We really need to work on this. We don't have time to get that kind of a bill through. So this is something we've been talking about, as Chloe said, for years, but in the Capitol in particular, there have been different policy efforts recommended or suggested. So just think about that, right? We've had all these conversations, but legitimately in May 2023, we began planning and drafting and thinking about the fiscal note. And when January 2024 came around, we were ready for session to run that bill. And to note, this is the bill that has no fiscal note attached to it. There's no public funding from the state for this implementation of this commission and for this study. It is 100% community raised. Many of you on this call were donors at any level to be supportive of this effort. And so we've been blessed to raise half of the $2 million for this effort. And we're on our way to raise the additional million. So 2 million total, 1 million raised, 1 million to raise. And again, it's just been a real labor of love, a real effort that's taken time and patience because we wanted to get it done right. And we wanted to truly see that Colorado, not just certain parts of Colorado, certain communities were invested in the study. And we've been blessed to have such a diversity of financial investment to make this happen. That's what Colorado is all about. And I'm proud to be in this state because of that.
Yes, and Chloe, I'll tell you a little bit about my experience. I went through my life pretty much clueless. I was educated in the 60s and went to college in the 70s. And in my history books, the only Black person reference was George Washington Carver. And I went through my life like that, completely clueless, even though I was growing up during the Civil Rights Movement. And then one day I read a book called The Color of Law. And it went through only housing. And it was incredibly complicated about just how pervasive everything that I had been led to believe was available to everything excluded Black people. It was intentional to exclude Black people. The development of mortgages were intentional to exclude Black people. the suburbs were intentionally excluded Black people, and it changed my whole life. And yet that was just a minuscule part of what Black people face in America, a very tiny part. And so how in this 2 years are you going to be able, I think part of the problem is Americans don't realize exactly how the systems are engineered to work against Black people. They think that racism has been solved, everybody's equal, and so now if you help Black people, you are discriminating against white people, which is totally ridiculous. So how can you manage this massive information of systems that are affecting people for generations, which multiply as the generations come forward?
That's a good question, Kathy. Just yesterday, I was on a call and a woman said, "Are you coming to speak to us about Black history or American history?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, the two are connected. And she said,
Right,
no, 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 because I know slavery was bad, but like once you all got the right to vote, I thought we were all good. I
right.
said, oh boy, how I wish that were the truth. I'll see you next week. That's a big question. We have a lot to cover. I think the way that we're doing it is that we've developed a strategy. One of my responsibilities as program manager is to really be intentional in working with Dr. Spillman, who is our senior researcher, to really look at the fullness of what we've been tasked to do. And the first thing that we did was sit down and literally take a month just to go over and read and reread and state the intention and talk and engage with people to come up with the scope that we presented to the commission in January. And we wanted to intentionally do that too. We had to call a special meeting to do that because you can't meet during session. And Senator Coleman was so kind to honor us with that. So when we had that meeting, it was important for us to bring the scope before the commission because we wanted them to see what our intention was, right? And we wanted to essentially kind of have their blessing to move in that way with intention. And once we received that, after an hour and 30 minutes of questioning in the Capitol, we left feeling so deeply encouraged because we knew that we were on the right track. So what we do is the research team actually has core areas. So every individual that's a researcher has at least 3 areas of focus. We're moving chronologically. Right now, we're in about the 1920s. So we've come through the territory, we've come through early statehood, and we're moving that way. By this fall, we'll be, of course, in the 1960s. And that's how we're moving in shifts. And the actual study will be presented in those shifts. It will kind of read almost like a textbook of sorts, although it's a textbook we never had the privilege of reading in school. There will also be images, advertisements, documents, photographs, historical photographs that are represented in each section, and it will focus on the core areas that are included in the scope, the rubric we developed. So access to wealth, which includes access to banking, small business support, mortgages. What we actually found was there was so much resistance to support homeownership in the Black community, specifically in Denver, that you actually had places of worship co-signing on mortgages for people. Shorter, Zion, all these churches were co-signing on mortgages for their congregants, for their parishioners, because no one else would allow them to do that. There were so many efforts to actually have a savings and loan. Let's have our own bank. Let's support our own people because other people won't support us. We can do this. It was blocked every time. Every time. And when you talk about health, you talk about access to wellness, you talk about access to recreation, which is why we have Lincoln Hills, because you had sundown towns. You couldn't be caught in a sundown town after sun because you might not go home. And sundown towns still exist in Colorado. Right now, when I leave this conversation, if I tell my husband, you know what, let's take the day off tomorrow, put Zoe in the car, pack the cooler, let's go, right? It's summer, let's go. There are some places that we should not be after 6 p.m. sundown because our life may be in danger right now in 2025. So when you talk about the sheer magnitude of information that we have to sift through, you're correct. But I think with our strategy that we've developed and the way that each researcher is honestly moving in flow, we are specifically tasked by law to find policies, practices, and programs, data-driven information that the state either intentionally did or unintentionally did to cause harm. So our vision is refined. There's a lot of harm out there that had nothing to do with the state, quite frankly. It was just the energy of the state itself. But we are focused on that. And looking through that lens, it actually kind of creates the journey, so to speak, because some things won't be included because they're not in accordance with the overall law. So we're moving that way. And then we anticipate being fully done researching by next summer.
Wow. It's so much to cover.
It's a lot, but
Yeah.
it's a start. And we're hoping that other people will see this in years to come and say, you know, that was a great start. We appreciate you. And they will endeavor to do their own studies, because the notion that we're just not doing a study in 25 and this should be the only study is ridiculous. There are studies for other initiatives, groups, and cultures that have been going on for years. We're hoping this is a beautiful start, and we are committed to providing the information that is needed and required for this job.
And I would just add really quickly, we did a study this year, as you all know. Many of you supported this and might have supported it as a collective, to figure out what it would look like for healthcare for all, universal healthcare system. We just want to know. It's information. We should be making informed decisions about policy, not just things that feel good, things that are data driven. And so that's what this is. Of course, a lot of times what you get is, well, what comes next? This is the camel's nose under the tent. And it's like, you know, at the end of the day, we just can't win. You know, if we run a bill because we anecdotally know there's disproportionate impacts on communities, without the data that you're asking for, the research or history that you're asking for, it's a problem. We are doing our due diligence and we are raising the money for that. And Chloe and her team are doing a phenomenal job so that we can make informed policy decisions, not just anecdotally, but empirically.
Yeah, and I just want to mention that there are other studies being run specifically on Indian boarding schools that the state does fund.
Yeah.
And yet the Black equity study is completely supported by the community. So, Shauna, I'll let you go in a minute, but Chloe, do you know of any other states that are doing, or Senator Coleman, do you know of any other states that are doing studies like this?
Yes, so the first state to do it was California. California did a study in 2020 prompted by the tragedy of George Floyd and turned it over in 2022. It was done through the Department of Justice. They had about 43 full-time researchers on board, 43, and it was fully funded. But I think because of the time through which it was presented, there was a lot of hurt and angst. And when you read the California study, there's a very distinct tone that I'm not saying is unmerited. I'm just saying once people return to their privilege, and we were able to go outside, a lot of people lost passion for the cause unless they lived or worked directly in communities of color. The second state to do something was Illinois, and they were successful. They focused on housing in Evanston, Illinois, and they were able to receive repair and made actual monetary payments to families for a whole community that was burned to the ground. So that was a very intentional effort that had a very strong community engagement focus. And we saw that that is one of the keys to being successful, not just in terms of repair in the future, but also in active repair and reconciliation with the community. Colorado is the third state to endeavor to do this work. The fourth state is Washington, and now New York is doing this work as well. But I think Colorado is different because we are the only study in the entire nation to be not only funded by everyday individuals and organizations, no federal dollars, only gifts, grants, and donations. And also, we have an extensive community engagement strategy where we are actively in the community every single week, every step of the way. So we are both the first in that sense, and we are looking to really create a model for others who have the capacity and courage to move forward.
Yeah, and I think the objective of reparative justice, or however you want to talk about what comes next, that we need to really look at what you find, because I think without the background knowledge of what you find, people are going to react differently to notions of reparations or repair or any kind of program like that. So Shauna, we're getting a lot of questions. So Shauna, you want to
Yeah, I just wanted to ask one of the questions that's in the chat. It's asked, will your group look at the possibility of a state-based reparations program? And can you speak to the SPLC report about hate groups in Colorado?
If I could really quickly, and I'll pass over to Chloe. I have to hop off here, and I can just answer this question. What I will tell you is, it has never been the intent to run a bill for what we have historically discussed the definition of reparations to be. I think there's a very direct reparations you usually hear about, which is, hey, let's just give dollars directly to community, 40 acres and a mule, let's pay it back. And then there's the more indirect form of reparations where most Black community in Denver and in Colorado that I talk to say we just want a fair chance.
Yeah.
And so for us, this is again the impetus in part for this policy and this commission and study was because we run bills, and those bills say we want to provide dollars like they do at the federal level and the state level. Do you know at the state level, at city level rather, in Denver, there is a procurement office. There is an office where women and minority-owned businesses can get contracts they typically wouldn't, because usually those contracts go to the good old boys club. They get passed around to each other. A lot of us, we get contracts and we're never prime contractors. We're subprime. And we never get those prime opportunities because the people who have the resources and connections just pass those around to one another. So at the city level and the federal level, you can actually earmark contract opportunities to diversify the workforce. At the state level, there is no such policy. There's no such policy. And the reason why is because it's in our Constitution. And so in order to address that concern, we have to have the data to show that we have a percentage of businesses in a particular industry in order for our Office of Economic Development to earmark contract opportunities to women and minority-owned businesses. And one last thing, just really quickly, there's a big push against diversity and equity and inclusion in our state or in our country, DEI. What most folks don't know is that DEI is benefited 90% by white women in America. It's not actually just communities of color that are benefiting, because women are significantly discriminated against in this country still after all of the work that's been done to make equal and equitable, even when it comes to pay. We passed a bill in my time for equal pay for women in the state of Colorado. And this is not the 1950s. This is just a few years ago. And so this is not the traditional sense of reparations. It's more so, if we all are playing Monopoly and we all have our pieces to move around the board, but some of us have money and some of us don't. We just want to play the game. So create more opportunities for us to be able to participate. And I'm so proud of the work that Chloe and others are doing in order for us to get that, again, information that allows us to make those informed decisions. I just want to say thank you so much, Kathy. Thank you, Shauna. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you all. This will not be the last time I see you. You guys are always welcome at the Capitol. I look forward to connecting with you all more, but love y'all so much. Thank you for being at the Capitol and supporting us and being a part of this work and not just sending us there to do it by ourselves. You all are always engaged and involved. So I just want to say thank you, and sorry I have to hop. I'm going into this town hall for Senator Katie Wallace. So let's make it happen.
So Senator
Thank you,
Coleman,
Senator.
just let me say, next session, when you have bills, if you think that they have to do with justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, be sure to let us know. So we'd love to support you.
Oh
Thank
yeah, I'd love to have you. They don't want to see y'all come down there. They know what time it is when the League of Women Voters shows up. All right, y'all.
All right,
Thank you.
take care. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Kay, you have a question? You're on mute.
Yes, yeah, let me just put that on. I just want to say, first of all, I really admire your plan. I think it is just an excellent one. And something I would add to it that might help you. I don't know how many years ago I went to the Clinton Library, and one of the things they have in one of the rooms is a path across that lists, for example, the year, and it has what was happening politically, what was happening, laws that were passed, all these things. And then you begin to look down them and you see, and I mean, just one example that I know of with Black Americans is all the mortgage stuff. Well, another example is when you look down and people came back from World War II where African Americans did not get the GI Bill. People don't even know that, and so if you could see, this is when everybody came home. This is when housing, began to look different. People moved the suburbs. This is all when those things started. And we kept keeping people from being able to do that. I think to see a whole complex picture makes it such a wonderful way for people to see it isn't one single thing that has happened. It's the
Right.
combination that causes it to be systemic. And so I admire what you're doing. And I think the more you can present that in your project, I think that will really be, and it sounds like you've got a great plan for it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your kind words. We actually are in the process of creating a map for the state of Colorado that reflects that, but it's going to be multi-layered. We're starting with the map of lynching because Black people were lynched throughout the state, and we're honoring them in a really intentional way by not just presenting the data of those persons who were lynched and how that caused harm to their families and to their loved ones. Even women were lynched. We're actually in some way, I'm a historian by trade, but I'm an artist in heart. And I told my team, there have to be really beautiful aspects of the study that we just honor the resilience. It can't be all the heaviness, right? It has to be the heaviness, but there'll be some pockets of just resilience and honor that are intentionally offered in this study. But the mapping is a really great tool for us to do so. We'll also be using the mapping to demonstrate and illustrate how harm was caused as it relates to access to, of course, financial support and access to jobs in general as well, and sundown towns as well. So thank you for that. It does make a difference. When you see it in totality, it's like this is significant. So that will be in the study as well.
Yes, thank you. People are starting to sign off because we're running out of time, but I want to give Rita a chance to ask a question, and then I'd like you to tell us how we can help. You've mentioned it in passing, but I'd like to really take that home. So, Rita.
Yes, and sorry, I've been having problems with my audio. Chloe, the reason why I had signed in, I'm American Indian, and a lot of atrocities happen to my native people. And I have dyslexia, and sometimes I'm a little embarrassed because I don't vocalize as well as I would like to. But it's so wonderful to see that you're doing this. And would this also help other people of color as well, what you're doing? Or is it basically just for your race?
Is your question, is this study just helping Black people and
Yes,
not other people of color?
or us as well included in that?
Right. So there's no such thing, Rita. If you elevate the quality of life for Black people, the foundation of the country, in partnership with beautiful Indigenous people, then we all do this together. There's no zero-sum game. This specific study was to honor the atrocities and harms caused towards Black Coloradans, yes. But we were working in tandem. I'm working with Phil Glover, who is over the Indian boarding school work at History Colorado. We've had conversations with beautiful Indigenous people. One of our own team members is Afro-Indigenous. There's no such thing. That statement, that energy is surely just if you know the history, it's a byproduct of colonization and white supremacy. This notion that if you help one group, you don't help the others. We all win when the truth is honored.
Yeah, but it's so wonderful. You're so intelligent and knowledgeable, and maybe one day too, we can get people from my tribe to do something like this, because there's a tendency for us to be more quiet and removed. So, and it brings tears to me to see that you're doing something wonderful. Thank you.
I appreciate you and I appreciate your energy. Be encouraged. Be encouraged. Thank you all so much for your time, especially for those who were able to hang on just a little bit. We want to honor your family time, your time at home. And I get this question often: how can we support, Chloe? How can we support? You can offer your oral history if you work with populations of color throughout the state of Colorado. All you have to do is reach out to me. We have a web link that will be shared with you, or you can simply go to Google and Google Colorado Black Equity Study at History Colorado. We're housed there. We're usually there 2 or 3 days a week, and we're out in the field in the archives the rest of the week. And we'll be there until about March of 2027 when we turn over this study. If you'd like to make a donation of any amount, it is tax deductible. On that very same page for the equity study, there is an orange button where you can make a contribution, and you'll receive information for your tax purposes immediately after. And we'll also be listing this summer the information for the public hearings and ways to be engaged in the community in this work. This is our collective work together, our journey together. And if something moved you tonight, I encourage you to share it with people you deeply care about who have the capacity to work together to make Colorado be a little bit different.
Yes, thank you, Chloe. This has been amazing. I wish we had more time. And I hope that people really start to investigate and see what's around them beyond their privilege. And you've certainly given us a lot to think about. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Thank you, Chloe. Chloe, thank you.
Thank you.
I hope that you felt it was worthwhile, and I know that a lot of people heard what you have to say and took it to heart. So thank you.
I hope so. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate just the beautiful intention behind how you shared. Because I think when you speak a lot, you're always mindful of the invitation, right? Because the invitation is a blessing itself. But when someone who invites you to speak also has courage enough to be transparent in their journey, then it just it blesses my spirit. So I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You want to stop the
Thank you.
recording, please, Jennifer? Jennifer.